Alright, so 2-minute Tanya tidbit for today. So until now we explained the idea that a person can't judge somebody else until you're in their place, and therefore you have no clue where someone else is holding in their struggles, and so you can't judge them because really you're not even struggling as much as you can. Both from the side of doing good, you should be doing so much more than what you do, and on the side of staying away from evil, you have so much more to work on, so really you are not struggling as much as the other person is, so you can't judge him as you yourself are just as guilty for struggling in the war that you have with your evil inclination. Now the Alter Rebbe takes it a step further, because seemingly in the beginning of the parak we said that you should think of yourself as even lower than everybody else. So here we said that you're equal to somebody else. Why are you any lower, any worse? So Adar says because we know the idea that someone who's close to God and someone who desires to be close to Him, and that's what he's working on, and therefore someone who learns Torah and considers himself someone who cares about God's mitzvos, his guilt, his badness, and the fact that he's not serving God is so much greater than this Kal Shebekalim, the lowest of the low that we were mentioning before sitting in the marketplace. Because when someone's close to God and they care about godliness, and this is what they invest their life in, and still they go against God, it's a much greater sin in the fact that they don't serve God properly. As we find about Acher, Elisha ben Avuya, that when he turned away from the ways of God, God said that he's somebody who knows me and still rebelled against me. That's much worse, because you know God and you go against Him. And this is also what we find, that it says that the Amei Haaretz, someone who doesn't know so much about serving God, when they do a sin, even though it could be on purpose, but it's considered like they did it by mistake. Because God doesn't judge them to the full extent, because they didn't really know so much about how great godliness is in order to have a real idea of going against God on purpose. As opposed to somebody who knows about godliness, and that's what you care about, and that's what you're involved in during the day. So the fact that you're not waging the war properly, and you're not struggling with the Yetzer Hara as much as you can, is a much greater sin than somebody else, and therefore you're much lower. And in a certain sense, you really, when you see somebody else, you should look up to them. Even if they seem to be the lowest person who's not successful, you should think of yourself as lower as everybody else, even the lowest of the low. That's the end of today's parak and the end of today's portion. See you next time.